Welcome everybody to another round of World of Tanks subscriber replays. My name as always is Maxwell, and today's first video is from the user Batmat. That's Batmat, not to be confused with Batman, and he's driving the M103 on a standard battle on Severogorsk. We're finally up to some 9.0 replays, so this is going to be the 9.0 Severogorsk, the one with that much different right hand side and the slightly different left hand side. So if you haven't had much of an opportunity to play on Severogorsk after the 9.0 update, I actually, thinking about it, tend to see this map very, very rarely. In fact, I think it's been at least 2 weeks worth of playing where I haven't seen this map at all. So maybe that's just RNG, or maybe it is pretty low down in the rotation, not really too sure. So Batmat going to be heading all the way over to the left-hand side here, gets a hit on this T71 who comes steaming out from behind the rock there. Unfortunately, all of that got eaten by his tracks, but this one probably isn't going to get eaten by his tracks as he puts one right through the front, and then he gets taken out by a T30. The T71 did manage to get a little bit of damage onto the M103, but not enough to really worry him whatsoever. So he's got a few allies with him on this flank. Excuse me. And they're just going to be overlooking this area. But it looks like the enemy team isn't really wanting to push. As you can see, they've got a weird group of tank destroyers, medium tanks and heavy tanks here. And with the tank destroyers, they're probably not going to want to push. I think they've seen that the allied team has more on this flank than the enemy does. As you can see, nobody really poking themselves out too far thanks to the T30 and the Waffenträger and that T25-2. So that's going to allow Batmat to push up here. Finds the Leopard 1, has a shot there, but I think he just hit the rock instead. So a little bit unfortunate there not to get any damage on that Centurion 1. Excuse me, thought it was a Leopard 1. Turns out it's a Centurion 1. Gets a lovely shot straight through the front of the Object 704 there, just sneaking that one just to the right of the gun mantlet of the Object 704. And I think the Object 704's realised that this flank hasn't gone particularly well for them, so he starts to fall back. As you can see, it's only really himself, this Centurion 1, and the T25-2 here. So the three of them not really going to be able to hold back the tide of the Allied force here. Batmat able to get in cover, but I think this Object 704 is looking straight at him, but no, he fires past him and damages somebody else instead, and Batmat's able to get a little bit of damage back onto him. I'm just waiting to see if anybody else is going to poke themselves out here, any of those medium tanks from earlier. But it looks like they are staying well hidden here. And Batmat just playing this one very, very patiently, just waiting for the enemy to make mistakes. He knows he's got the support of his allies there. He knew that that Object 704 was going to poke himself out, and but he wasn't quite able to get any damage on him. I don't think he's going to be able to get this shot either, as the Jagdtiger 88 moves himself in the way. And here comes the tank destroyer party all rolling forward. Jagdtiger 88 gets set on fire by the Object 704 there, but he's got himself a premium fire extinguisher, and that just puts that one out pretty quickly. And then Batmat's able to get a lovely snapshot on that Centurion 1 and take him out for kill number 1. Does take a hit from the Object 704, but luckily the large tracks of his American tank just absorbs that one there. The American tanks tend to do that quite a lot. Especially on the heavy line, the tracks on them so large, especially right at the front there, do tend to soak up quite a bit of damage sometimes. So this Object 704 is doing, he's being particularly brave, man. He hasn't just turned tail and ran, he's fighting a rearguard action. He's attacking and then falling back, and attacking and falling back. Unfortunately, it's going to be nowhere near enough, as everyone just closes in around him. Batman able to get the tracking damage on him. I think he's going to come in here for the ram. Oh, not quite enough to take him out. I'm going to see if the Waffenträger can finish him off, and he can indeed. And that is the left-hand flank completely won now. Unfortunately for the Allies, the enemy team has just as handily won the right-hand flank, and they are now moving in towards the base. I think they were actually just driving through the base there, not actually going for the base capture. But as you can see, that Löwe, the Panzer Soufflé, and the Jagdtiger 88 all making a beeline for the enemy cap circle. So they're probably going to win this one via capping. But Batmat deciding that he's going to drop back and try and do something about the attackers here. Wow, gets a very, very inaccurate shot against that IS-3. I think the server reticule is probably in a different position. IS-3, not really sure who he's looking at though, or who Batmat took damage from then, really. Takes a shot from the right-hand side, and the server must be having some weird issues at the moment, because that was a little bit weird. But he's able to take out the IS-3 as it is. I think he was just thinking that he could get more damage onto the Waffenträger if he angled his gun that direction instead, and indeed that was true. Oh, gets a lovely, lovely snapshot on the Object 432 there. And gets a lovely shot through the top of his turret. You can see the SU-122-54 has come around here to try and hold Batmat up while that medium tank makes his way to the cap circle to try and decap this one. So an excellent piece of teamwork here. I don't even think those guys are in platoon. No, they are not. Just knowing their roles and knowing their jobs. The Object 430 making the beeline for that cap circle, and the SU-122-44 delaying Batmat long enough for him to make that. The SU deciding that discretion is definitely the better part of valor. Unlike that Object 704, he just turns tail and runs. Batmat just waits for his gun to reload there and takes him out and picks up kill number 3. And then the enemy has a Rheinmetall Waffenträger capping there. And you can see the Object 430 and the enemy Waffenträger have dropped back to try and stop that base capture. But it's only the Löwe in there now. And it's Batmat back here with the T95 in the center of the map. Going to see, he's probably going to take a big hit from this Rheinmetall. No, Rheinmetall rushes his shot and plants that one into the dirt, but does decide to continue running away. The T95 has his shot, but unfortunately just plants that one also into the dirt. The base capture has now been completely dealt with. The Waffenträger does take out the Löwe. It's a lovely hit on that Rheinmetall as he is tracked at the bottom of the hill there. Bounces his shot, must have just rushed that one on the turret, and this is going to be a case of kill number 4 for Batmat. But now they are in a bit of a difficult position. It's 12 kills to 13, so it's fairly even. Losing by 1 kill at the moment, so it's 2 versus 3, but this T95 is on full health, and the M103 of Batmat's only lost, what's that, just under 300 hit points, just more than 250, so the two of them are going to be setting up in a defensive position here. Batmat trying to get himself hulled down, but realises that there isn't really anywhere that he can get hulled down, so does his best to hide in a bush here, thinking that the enemy team's going to come from the center. And as it is, this Object 430 is coming from the center. He's been spotted out. Going to try and pick out the weak spot on his turret, which indeed he manages to hit it, but that one just ricochets, so a little bit unfortunate. Luckily, Batmat's able to dodge that shot as well. T95 starts the mammoth task of trying to climb the hill here. Wouldn't be a mammoth task for anybody else but the T95, considering how slow that thing is. Waffenträger appears on the right-hand side and bounces a shot on Batmat, who's been pretty lucky with the bounces here. He's got to be careful now as he spins his gun towards that Object 430. Object 430's got to have known that he's fired, gets his tracks taken off by the Waffenträger and uses that repair kit finally to fix that one up. And he's going to sit on this left-hand side and try and fend off the Object 430, which he's able to do beautifully, taking him out. But they're doing a fantastic defensive job here of the T95 focusing on the right-hand flank while the M103 focuses on the left-hand side. T95 taken to a little bit further up the hill. Batmat going to be trying to head off the T110E3 prototype. If that Waffenträger pokes himself out again, hopefully the T95 is going to be able to take him out. And hopefully Batmat can dissuade the T110E3 prototype from peeking to try and take a side shot at the T95. Just missed that shot, which is a little bit unfortunate. This T110E3 prototype's got to be closing in now. Although he is only a T8 tank destroyer, he is pretty damn tough and has a decent cannon. As you can see, puts one into the track there. I don't think Batman actually took any damage from that one, but the T95's having to make a massive detour here in order to try and take out this Waffenträger. And as he flushes him out from one side, Batmat's able to have his shot. Unfortunately, that one just about misses, and then he takes a big hit from the left and from the front, both of them at the same time. And then the Waffenträger pokes out to the right-hand side. Batman misses again, rushing these shots here as he's obviously panicking a little bit. This T95 still got a huge amount of hit points here, so we can just move around the corner and try and flush this Waffenträger out. But I think he'd been tracked then, and as the Waffenträger makes his move, Batmat's finally able to take him out and pick up kill number 6 and a deserved Top Gun medal. Excuse me. So that just leaves this full health T28 prototype, and that T95 is quite a distance away, so not really going to be able to help out for a while. The thing not really known for its speed. It's nicknamed the Raid Boss for a reason. But it looks like the T28 prototype thinks he can have some of this, which indeed he can, because he's very, very well armoured. But he's going to have to come around the corner, and Batmat doing a great job of leading him on so that the T95 can get shots on him. Looks like he's out in the open here, and Batman going to try and flank around behind him and put some shots into the rear of his armor. It looks like this T28 is fully focused on the T95 now. A little bit unfortunate, that shot just gets eaten up entirely by the tracks, and as you can see, Batman only got 2 rounds left, so he's going to have to rely on the T95 as he doesn't have the damage himself to finish off this T28 prototype. Last round of the game. It would be nice if he can pick up this kill with the last round. But I don't think he's going to play that cagily. Just wants to hit the T28 prototype and make it easier for the T95 to take him out. And there we go. T95 finishes the job, and that is GG and the victory. So absolutely awesome replay there from Batman, picking himself up 6 kills and 6,500 points of damage. Getting a bit ropey in the middle there, fighting against that Waffenträger, but managing to pull out the victory when it really mattered. So absolutely awesome replay from you. Thank you very much for sending that one in. Don't forget to stick around, because as always, the score screens and another game are coming right up. And our second replay of the day is from the user the Bismarck LOL. That's the Bismarck LOL, and he's driving the T110E3 on a standard battle on the Abbey. T110E3 is the non-turreted tank destroyer. Tier 10 for the Americans. And this being a tank destroyer replay, you can imagine that's a little bit slow to get started. The Bismarck going to be setting up in the centre here, next to this Foch. I'm going to be overlooking the central road there. As you can see, just setting himself up and protecting that 5916 and the 121 that moved up that direction. But it looks like nobody's really showing themselves. No enemy tanks in that area, so nobody for them really to shoot at. Going to stay here for a little bit of time just in case. Everybody gets spotted out now as the 5916 makes his way across to the enemy side of the map. But as you can see, nobody really showing themselves over there. So Bismarck going to be heading over to this left-hand flank, because as you can see, the enemy team has decided to concentrate a large portion of their force over this way, and there's only really that T57 heavy and then all of these lower tier tanks to defend this area. It looks like this T57 heavy is about to get flanked and about to get destroyed. T34-2 beating a hasty retreat. And this T57 heavy is now flanked on both sides, but just in time the Bismarck arrives. And he's going to square off against pretty much what looks like at least half of the enemy team. But the strong frontal armor of this tank is hopefully going to serve him well. Going to try and pick out his shots carefully and see if he can get something on the Jagdpanzer E100. He's not able to, but he is able to turn that shot aside and then drops back as this Tiger II attempts to just flank all the way around. I can kind of understand his sentiment that he wants to get everybody to turn and face him so that people can flank around, but nobody really came with him. Nobody else wanted to push with him. And as it is, that Tiger II just got himself taken out. Although, because of his maneuver, they were able to get that T57 heavy as everybody else was distracted. But Bismarck's able to put a great shot through the front of that T-32 to take out his track and do a huge 712 points of damage. And this T-32 is looking like it's going to go the same way as the Tiger II, going to be pushing ever forwards, and then Bismarck gets a beautiful higher roll on that one, able to take him out. You can see that the IS-3 was thinking about going that direction as well, but saw exactly what happened to his counterpart in the T-32 and just thinks to himself, well, fuck that, I'm not going anywhere. But the cavalry has arrived thanks to the fact that that T-57 Heavy has been taken out. But the IS-8 pushed out a little bit too far. The E-100 saw which way the battle was going and he stopped. The IS-8 didn't, and he got himself obliterated. Now this E-100 is going to fall back here, but they're still a little bit thin on the reinforcements here. They've only got a Jagdpanther 2, an ISU-152, and this T-34-2 against an E-100, a Jagdpanzer E-100, and that IS-3. He is managing to turn shots aside from that Jagdpanzer, and unfortunately his own shot bounced as well. So this one's a little bit of a stalemate at the moment, but Bismarck doing a fantastic job of just holding up pretty much the entire enemy attack on this flank here. You can see nobody really able to push past him, trying to take a shot on that Jagdpanzer, but not quite able to penetrate that one. But again, the Jagdpanzer not able to penetrate him, so this is just sitting at a complete stalemate at the moment. But like I said, a stalemate is good for the Allied team. As you can see, they've pushed right in on that right-hand flank, thanks to pretty much Bismarck being able to hold everybody off right now at where he is. Takes a little bit of a bad shot against that E-100 to just bounce across these angled front plates. Luckily for him, the IS-3 pokes himself out and he doesn't do any damage. This Jagdpanzer E-100's put himself way out here. I think he's trying to get a good shot onto the E3 of Bismarck here. Unfortunately, he's not able to do it and takes a chunk of damage in return. That shot just flying straight over the top of the E3 here. I think he was probably aiming at somebody in the background, but it sounded like he missed that one. So Bismarck doing a fantastic job of just being an immovable object, and in fact hasn't taken any damage yet. And there we go, takes a hit in the front, but again, still taking no damage whatsoever from these tanks. Luckily, the IS-3 doesn't have a powerful enough cannon to be able to really do anything here, and the AMX-50B from earlier has turned back up to join the party. Gonna have to be careful with him because he's got a pretty damn good cannon. And I'll just stop talking right now as he's able to eliminate that AMX-50B pretty damn quickly. It was a good job as well, because the AMX-50B gets a good chunk of penetration, and with that auto loader it's going to be able to put shot after shot into him. You see that Bismarck LOL doing a fantastic job of continuing to move forwards and backwards and side to side, just so that the enemy team here can't pick out any of his weak spots. Does take a critical hit on the viewports there, so you can tell whereabouts these guys are aiming for. Tries to get a hit on the Jagdpanzer E-100 as he falls back, but not able to do it. But again, he's just doing a fantastic job of holding up the entire enemy team that are attacking this flank here, while his allies push forward on the right-hand side. You see this E-100, Jagdpanzer E-100, and this IS-3 all being held up now. Nothing they can do whatsoever, while the Bismarck LOL just rains damage back down onto them, although a lot of them are ricocheting. This E-100 takes his shot and he just hits the gun barrel of that fallen T-57 Heavy there. And I'm not gonna say too much about that, as that's something that I've done quite often in the past as well. Bismarck LOL just setting himself up there, gets a beautiful shot onto the lower plate of the E-100 there, and he's got no recourse here because he can't put a damaging shot back onto the Bismarck. But as you can see, I think a lot of the enemy tanks have now decided to drop back, except this Jagdpanzer E-100 re-shows his face. Doesn't get to show his shot though, as the Bismarck LOL's able to take him out and pick up kill number 4. Does take a big hit from this E-100 here, but it only takes out his tracks. I think he was probably firing HE ammunition there, because it looks like it did about 20 hit points worth of damage. Oh, very unlucky to leave this E-100 just on 25 hit points there. I'm going to see if this T-34-2 can finish him off and pick up the kill. The Bismarck LOL is just sitting here waiting. Doesn't look like the T-34-2 is able to do anything about that. The IS-3 has now dropped back as well, but he's way out in the open, got nowhere really too high, and the Bismarck LOL's just going to get almost 800 points of damage through onto him. Got to be careful now as this E-100 is still lurking, and he does still have a cannon. If he decides to load some gold rounds, he can probably do some damage to the E3 of the Bismarck LOL, but I think he fired at maybe the tank behind him, that T-34-2. I'm not really sure how many hit points he had before that, because both of those shots from the IS-3 and the E-100 both missed, and they're able to take both of those tanks out in quick succession there, the IS-3 and that E-100, and that just leaves a Jagdtiger and this IS-7 on the enemy team. Jagdtiger looks like he is up in the top there, and hopefully he's not set up in too strong a position, although he is able to take out the T-34-2 and the ISU-152, so it's going to be left to the Bismarck LOL to come around here and equalise this one. Going to take his time to focus his shot, take him out and pick up kill number 6, and that is 8,000 points of damage so far. Now there is still this IS-7 lurking somewhere in the centre of the map. He was last seen in this courtyard, so again, just going to speed this one up until we get into some action, because this thing is a slow and cumbersome beast. As you can see, not got a fantastic amount of speed. Does take a hit from that IS-7, but again, not doing any damage. The only little bit of damage he's taken is probably from that HE shell. I think it was fired by the IS-3 early on. If I'm mistaken about that, you can correct me in the comments, but he's only taken 11 points of damage in this whole match, which is pretty amazing, to be honest, considering the amount of hits he was taking from the tanks that he was taking them from. IS-7 trying to make a beeline out of there, but he's at a bit of a funny angle and gets penetrated badly in the rear there. And Bismarck LOL just going to close him down. He'll need to get a beautiful high roll to be able to take him out here, because he's got 886 hit points. But Bismarck just not going to let up, and he's just going to close in on him like a tidal wave. Gets a great hit through his side armor there. Not quite a high enough roll, but leaves him with 163 hit points, which the Jagdpanther 2 is able to take away from him. And that is GG and the victory. So absolutely awesome replay there from the Bismarck LOL, picking himself up 6 kills and 9,804 points of damage. Almost breaking the mythical 10,000 points of damage mark, but not quite. And the more amazing thing is the amount of shots he'd taken and the amount of damage being only 11 that he sustained in this match. So absolutely awesome replay from you. Thank you very much for sending that one in. Don't forget, guys, if you've got yourself a great replay, then please send that in to replay@screenreality.com. Link for that is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, informative, you learned something, or you just enjoyed it, then definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Leave me a like and stick a comment in the comment section below letting me know what you thought of the 2 replays that we featured today. I have been Maxwell, this has been World of Tanks, and I will catch you guys next time.